can be what you wanna be. Be what you wanna be. You just be what you wanna be with me.
Hello, beautiful people. Sorry, I couldn't end that story or end that beginning there with my beautiful friend Kevin and his awesome song, Wanna Be. I love, love, love that song so much. So, hey, how you going? Sam Bowker here. Welcome to another episode of Real and Raw Stories. And today I'm going to be talking about me, which is, of course, the topic I really hate talking about. No, not really, totally. But I thought, it seems only fair. I've got all these beautiful people coming on and I'm interviewing them about their life and their real and raw story. And I've had some great guests, right? They've taught us some really cool things. And I thought it was time that maybe I should jump on and share a little bit about my story. So just as a little bit of a segue, that Wanna Be, that song there in the beginning, a beautiful friend of mine, Kevin Lawson, wrote that song. And I just think that's so cool because here's, at the beginning of my show, and here's the cool thing about it when it's your show, you get to do what you want, right? I'm in charge of this show. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, but it's my show. So I get to be who I want to be. I get to start how I want to start. And I really like that song because I think it really resonates with everything at this point in my life that I truly, truly believe in the core of my being, which is that you get to be who you want to be, right? So now, so that I can make sure that I can, if anyone has any questions throughout this process, I'm going to tune in to Facebook here on my phone. So just give me a moment because I couldn't play music and have Facebook running all at the same time. So I'm just going to quickly open that up just in case throughout this process anybody has any questions and you want to reach out. And I just want everyone who's been following me to just take note of the fact that today is the first day that I have done this and not completely mucked up the technology. I can't believe it. See, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So I have definitely been trying this for the last little while. I have definitely had to show up and try it again and again and again because the first few times you will notice at the beginning of my real and raw stories, I'm there going, oh my goodness, I can't do this. And I'm hearing backfeed and whatever. And it's funny now that I understand what I was doing wrong. But what's funny is at the time, I just kept doing it again and again and again, right? And I have to just tell you, the recovering perfectionist in me would have been screaming about that a few years back. And I guess that's a pretty good place to start this story, okay? Because perfection has been something that in my childhood and in my adulthood and my teens and tweens and pretty much my entire life, I probably wore my perfection as a badge of honor. And I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but I genuinely wore it as a badge of honor. I used to walk around going, oh, I'm a perfectionist. I'm such a perfectionist. And the reality is that perfection, I now understand, was the birthplace of my anxiety. What do I mean by that? Well, perfection stopped me from doing so many things because I had this story that I kept telling myself that if it wasn't perfect, I wasn't even going to try. If I couldn't get it perfect, it wasn't worth doing. If a job's worth doing, it's got to be perfect. And these were all stories that I had created throughout my life. And they all came from a place of feeling like I wasn't enough. If it wasn't perfect, if it could be measured and it wasn't perfect, it wasn't going to be, it wasn't going to be good enough. And I made it mean that if I didn't get it perfect, I wasn't enough. And you can see how, as a belief, like as a story to tell yourself that is going to stop you from doing so many things in this world, right? If you have to get stuff perfect, you are never even going to get out of the gate. And I'll never forget the first time someone said to me, let go of perfection, right? Just let go of perfection because it doesn't exist. And what if you just decided to do your best and let go of the rest? Like, I got to tell you, that was like, for me, that was like total mic drop. Do your best and let go of the rest. And I don't even know if they're the exact words that they used, but that's definitely how it landed for me. Just do your best and let go of the rest. I'm going to say it again. Do your best and let go of the rest. Like, what if we just lived our life like that, right? What if we just like did our best and let go of the rest? And for me, that was just like, it was like a serious aha moment. It was in that moment, I realized I could just let go of all the judgment, the self-criticism that I put on myself. And listen, I still have that perfection that streams through my system. And I always joke that I am a recovering perfectionist. And the reason I say recovering is because it's still there, right? But I now realize that really that's just, it's almost like this, it's this inner critic that is trying to stop me from stepping into my fabulosity. It's trying to stop me from going out there and doing what I was put on this planet to do, right? If I worried about perfection today, there is no way I would be sitting here talking to you. There is no way I would have created a show called Real and Raw Stories. There's no way I'd jump into social media and comment and post and share in the way that I do, because I would be so worried what you guys are out there thinking instead of, I'd be worried about you guys, what you guys are thinking, and I just wouldn't do it. See, and even just then when I fumbled, I would freak out about that. But today I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, it's so unimportant. I know what I'm trying to achieve. I know my intentions are pure. I know that I just want to be out there serving people and helping people step into their power and be the best version of themselves. And the best is not perfect. The best is just that. It's the best that you can do at that moment in time with the resources that you've got. Anyway, so let me just tell you a little bit about having that perfection and what it did for me. So, like, those of you that don't know me very well, I come from a family of 5. You can see the people in the background. This is my very immediate family. You've got my beautiful daughter. Obviously, that's an image of me, and it's my mum and my dad. However, my dad will tell you that looks nothing like him, and truthfully, he's probably not far off. He's a much more handsome lad. But I also have a brother and I have a sister. And we had a pretty normal childhood. We grew up in a really beautiful place called the Hawkesbury River, which was boat access only. So yeah, I used to literally catch a boat to and from my house to get anywhere. And like, now looking back on my childhood, I was incredibly blessed, like incredibly blessed. I had great parents. I had a great life. I had so much freedom. It was ridiculous. I used to get in my boat and go cruising around the river. I mean, I had a great life. And I don't know, like, as a kid, I don't know. I feel like it was always a part of me that I felt like I was destined to do something important. I felt like I had a voice and I wanted to use it, and it was important, and I had to get out there and I had to do stuff. And I remember when I was little, I remember my dad, I remember doing a march for Ban the Bomb and Save the Whales. And, I was always one of these kind of outspoken, I'm going to say, what was the word that was used recently to describe my daughter? Precocious, right? And when it was used to describe my daughter, I almost felt like it was an insult, even though it may not have been intended to be. But I was very precocious. And just for those of you, because I had to Google what that meant, it meant wise beyond my years, right? And my daughter, she's that person. She's wise beyond her years. But as a child, being like that, like, I actually struggled quite a bit. I didn't really get on with kids that well. I struggled through school. I was a bit of a loner. I seemed like I was super confident on the outside, but on the inside, I kind of just felt like I never really fit in. And throughout my, I guess, schooling, primary school was kind of tough. I was in a really small community. And, those of you that know me well, I've got a pretty big personality. I'm pretty colorful. And I don't really fit into, I guess, major mainstream society. Like, I'm not completely outside the left of center, but, if there's a left of center opinion, I'm probably going to be more to that side than what mainstream is saying. And so in school, it was tough. And when I got to high school, I did a couple of high schools. I started at one, then I didn't fit there, so I moved on to the next one. I didn't quite fit there. I moved on to the next one. And it was weird because adults always kind of saw me as this person who they saw me as the leader that I was always destined to be. The kids just saw me as obnoxious and loud and opinionated and a know-it-all. And let's face it, nobody likes a smart ass. And I used to cut people off and I never used to listen. I was a shit listener. It was like I had so much information in my brain that I wanted to get it out all of the time. But by the time I was kind of, 14, 15, it didn't feel nice not fitting in anywhere. It felt really uncomfortable and I felt incredibly alone. And so at about, 14, 15, I guess integrated with a group of people. And for the first time, I felt like I belong somewhere. And if you've ever struggled with not belonging somewhere and then you find your tribe, it was like, la, 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 it was like, honestly, the heavens opened and finally I was accepted. But for me, the group of people that I had found were all the misfits. They were the people that were on the left of centre. And back then, they were involved in the rave scene, they were involved in drugs. And it was kind of, it was kind of like the tough crowd. And that started me on a journey, I guess, of, it started me on a really tough journey, if I'm honest. It was the first time I kind of felt like I belonged somewhere. And I also uncovered that I was capable of being this person that everybody else wanted me to be, under the influence of drugs. Right. And I'm even talking in my real world, right? Because I was a clever drug addict. No one knew I was on drugs for a big chunk of time. And throughout, that journey has gone on for a very large portion of my life. And I realized that, I felt like I wasn't fitting in, I wasn't accepted. Then I found a place that I could be accepted. And then I found that even in this place where I was being accepted, I could go back into the old places where I wasn't accepted. And everybody liked me better. It was like they liked the drugged version better than they liked the real me. And that, that was really tough to take, because I now, having looked back on this and having done so much work on myself, I now realize that, I was feeling sad about who I was. I was feeling ashamed about the fact that I didn't fit. And then I had this story that was like, oh my God, now that I'm into all of these drugs, I fit over here with all these drug addicts, people that don't feel like they're fitting into society, and the people back over here, because I'm able to put on such a good front, they actually like me better when I'm like this. I found myself having a better relationship with my sister, who, I've had a strained relationship with a really big chunk of my life, and I love her dearly. But I know we talk about it. We talk about the fact that back when I was into that scene, we connected on a different level. And so why am I sharing all of this with you? Well, for so much of my life, I've hidden in shame around my history. And the reality is that we're not who we were in the past. We're not defined by our past. Today, in the present moment, is who we are. But our past and the story that we make up about our past, which is our beliefs, they do determine how we feel about ourselves. They determine the actions that we take, and they determine the life that we then get to go on and live. And so for me right now, being able to look back over my past and not beat the shit out of myself and go, you know what? If I could go back and do it all again, I mean, I used to say stuff like, oh, I wouldn't change a thing. And, if I could go back and do it all again, I would just do it all the same because I learned so much and blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, I wasted 20 years of my life, right? But there's no point beating the shit out of myself over that. It happened. And when I say wasted, I just could be way further along in this journey, impacting people, helping people, but I can't change it, right? And who knows if I could help and impact people in the way that I currently get to if I didn't have that story. So you see, hindsight's a funny thing. Oops. And there's no point in having regrets because you can't change the past, but you can change how you feel about it. And so the story I now make up about my past is, although, yes, there is things I would change, I'm grateful for every learning, every lesson, every insight, and every awareness that I gained through my past, because it allows me in the current moment to be the person that I am today. It allows me to look at my fellow humans with empathy and compassion and love and grace. It allows me to help people that in my heart of hearts, I genuinely believe that there's no one else on the planet that can help. And that may be my ego talking, or it doesn't matter, because I know that I go out of my way to support those people. And I've been able to, I guess, come to a space of peace around my past and around the people that I hurt in the past by telling myself that everything I went through led me to be where I am today. Everything I went through led me to where I am today. And everything that I've been through, every trial, every tribulation, everything I have had to overcome has helped me to become the best mum that I can be, the greatest friend, the greatest practitioner. Like, I get to help people every single day step into their power. I get to help people become the best version of themselves. And if I hadn't been such a shit version of myself, I wouldn't realize the importance of stepping into that power. And I really believe that because of my history, because of my past, because of who I have been and who it is that every day I am becoming, I'm able to shine a light for people who are really struggling right now, right? And I know, because when I was back there, and it was so tough, like it was the dark night of the soul, which honestly I feel went for the better part of 20 years. And when you're in the thick of that stuff, it's so hard. It's so hard to see how you're ever going to make it through. Like, there is times you sit there and you think, oh my God, like, just seriously, can the ground just open up and take me? Like, I'm done. I just want to tap out. I've had enough. Like, I'm out, right? And, you know, and some people don't make it through. So I'm so incredibly blessed and grateful that I did. And I guess now I see it as my duty, and it is my mission, and it is, you know, it is I can't even believe I'm going to use this word, but it is my God-given mission that I am implored to get out there and do what I can to help people let go of their past, let go of their limiting beliefs that are stopping them from sharing everything that they were created to share on this planet. Because I've got to say, guys, it doesn't matter where you are right now. It does not matter where you have been. It only matters where you want to go and why it's important. So the reason that I have a picture of my family behind me right now is because these people, right, specifically these 3 people, are my reason for everything that I do. Like, I am so incredibly blessed and so incredibly grateful to have the world's best parents. Like, I know you're sitting there saying, no, but I've got the best parents. No, sorry, I have the best parents. But it's your job to think yours are the best too. And my little girl, who just turned 10 yesterday, she is my love. She is my light. She is my reason. She is my purpose for waking up. She makes me want to just be the best, most magnificent version of myself. She makes me step up and step out, and she is just such an inspiration. So, like, I have her with me all the time. She's in my heart, she's in my mind, and I just, you know, I feel incredibly blessed and grateful. And I know in the last 10 years since having her, I've taken more risks with where I'm going. I've realized the importance of time and space, and I'm not perfect, but I know that I'm done beating myself up about the past. And I really, like, if you guys take anything from me interviewing myself today, which is a bit random, but if you take anything from what I'm sharing with you right now, I just really want you to take this. Let go of your shit in your past. Everybody has wounds, right? Everybody has a story. If your story is not helping you be who you want to be today, then it's time you do a rewrite, right? It's time you make a decision. Why do you want to go somewhere else? Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? What's important? What matters to you? Okay? Because if you can just figure that out, then I'm telling you, everything else will fall into place. We've got this thing, right? I've always talked in universe and angels and stuff, and I got to say, lately I've been going down a bit of a spiritual awakening / journey, and I'm starting to open myself up to things that truthfully I never thought I would, right? I mean, I've been listening to sermons. I'm a bit obsessed with a new guy called Stephen Furtick, who is this super cool, super hot pastor, and he's just telling these great stories, and they all really resonate for me because I look at the fact that, like, religion is, it's a great story. The way it was put to me just recently by my dad, he's like, it's a great story. And, it is. And for those of you that, believe in God, that's amazing. For those of you that talk source and angels and whatever, like, it doesn't matter, right? But the stories are the same stories that I tell, right? Whether you believe in, the devil and God, the reality is there is only two emotions. There's fear and there's love, right? And if what you're experiencing is not love, it's fear. And fear comes across as blame and shame and guilt and anger, right? And, love is empathy and compassion, understanding and grace. And I really believe that we are constantly in this battle between love and fear. If you talk in biblical terms, they'll talk, between the God and the devil, right? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your belief is. What matters is where are you living? Are you living in a state of fear, or are you living in a state of love? Are you living in a state of shame and blame, or are you living in a state of grace and flow? Now, I've been in both places, and I got to tell you, it's way more fun over here, right? And so I work really diligently every single day feeding my white wolf. And if you haven't heard of the Cherokee Indian story, okay, there is a white wolf and there is a dark wolf. The white wolf, she's like filled with love and light and gratitude. And the dark wolf is filled with anger and resentment and blame and judgment, right? White wolf, dark wolf, God, devil, love, fear, whatever story works for you. The Cherokee Fable basically says, that we have these two wolves inside of us, and they're always fighting to win. And the one you feed most is the one that's going to win. So, like, when you go away today, I really want you to just think to yourself, are you living in a state of love, light and gratitude, or are you living in a state of fear, blame and judgment? Are you going out into the world and seeing that there are great people, great places, great things, or are you going into a space of negativity and lack and scarcity? Now, no matter where you're at right now, that piece is a choice. And I'm really committed to helping people choose this high road. I'm really committed to helping you tap into your higher self, not ego. See, there's a million ways to describe these two things, but they always come back to love and fear. And I know back in the day when I was struggling with addiction, I was living in a space of fear, in lack, and I was living in a space of scarcity and not enoughness, right? I was living in a space of comparison. Peeps, if you don't know it, comparison is the thief of joy. If I compared myself, and I have to work on this super hard, okay, right? With social media today, I got to work on this, right? But comparison is the thief of joy. If I compared myself to all the top podcasters and all the people I follow, I would never do this. And it's because of comparison that it's taken me so long to do it. I had a vision to do stuff like I'm doing now 23 years ago. 23 years ago, I went to a Tony Robbins conference, and I was committed back then, 23 years ago, to becoming a inspirational, motivational speaker, to getting out there and inspiring people to be the best they could be. Like, I was committed to that. And as soon as I came back out from my 4-day conference, Unleash the Power Within, the comparison and the inner critic, the dark wolf started shutting me down. Well, I'm not going to be shut down anymore. I'm not going to let that shut me down anymore. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to step up. I'm going to surround myself with people who intimidate me in the sense that they are so far ahead of where I want to be, because I want to lift myself up. There's also a saying, right? You will be the average. I think Jim Rohn said you will be the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. So once again, like, how are you feeling about yourself right now? Are you feeling empowered? Are you feeling good? Because I know that if you're not, have a look at your immediate people. Have a look at your tribe. You know, I made a really conscious decision after a very interesting event a few years back that I wanted to call in a new tribe of people. Like, I made a conscious decision that I only wanted to surround myself with people who were going somewhere, who were doing stuff that could teach me, you know, people where I was literally like, I wanted to be in kindergarten and I wanted them to all be in year 12. And you know, that was very different from the version of me 20 years ago where I did the complete opposite. I always wanted to feel like the most important person in the room. But when you're the most important person in the room, there's no one to learn from. So, like, yeah, I don't even know where I'm going with this. It's really interesting kind of having this chat with you because I've never, ever really been this open in this kind of a forum because of the fear of the impact it will have on the people that I love. Now, I have a 10-year-old daughter. And truthfully, you know, I've already let my parents down many times. And, you know, I know that they're very private people and they hate me sharing stuff like this. But I know that it's so important for me to share this with you guys because I know that, I know when you're going through a world of shit, you can look at these people that are leaders that are out there doing stuff. You can look at the 1%ers and you can think, oh, it's all fine for them. But the reality is, I don't know anybody who is super successful who hasn't had a dark night of the soul. And it doesn't have to be addiction. However, I have to say, knowing more and more of these people that I follow, addiction is super common for the successful people in the world. So is anxiety, so is depression. And so, you know, I feel like it's my duty now to share my story and to let go of that critic of, oh my God, people are going to judge you. Oh my God, people are going to, you know, they're going to have a story about it. But the one person I was most concerned about is my daughter. And because I don't want her, she's 10, right? I don't want her being in a situation where her friends come up to her and go, oh my God, do you know your mum used to be a drug addict? Like, no one wants their 10-year-old to hear that, okay? And it's not a conversation I wanted to have with my 10-year-old daughter. So I've always been very mindful about how I've shared. However, recently, because of some stuff going on in our family and in our personal relationships, I was concerned that Bella may well be told about my past. And I had a vision of her hearing that story from someone else, and knowing my daughter, I knew that that would devastate her. Not because of the fact that it had happened, but because of the fact that I hadn't shared it with her. And I knew she would feel betrayed, and I knew she would feel, how could I not trust her? And so it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do with my daughter. It was the hardest thing. But I sat her down and I said, look, there's something I want to tell you. It's something I didn't want to share with you this early in life. But those of you that know my daughter, she's my daughter. She's not a typical 10-year-old. She's way more like a 15-year-old. And so I just, you know, I told her, I shared. And I didn't go into great lengths. It's not important. But I did share it with her. And the way she responded was just amazing. She was like, Mum, I just think you are so awesome. I think you are so amazing and I love you so much. And thank you for trusting me enough to tell me. That's what my 10-year-old said to me. And it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders because she was the last person that I really cared about in terms of that didn't know, right? She was the last person whose opinion of me, like her opinion of me matters more than anybody else's. And for her to say that to me, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. And it was the inner child in me, my shame story that I've carried for so long. It was like she finally was set free. She was like, okay, it's okay now. You can go, you can do what you need to do now. And I know now, if anybody ever says that to her, because like if anyone ever gives her a hard time, I know because she now knows, she will be equipped to handle things in a way, and she'll just, you know, she'll have some smart ass comment. She'll retort back, yeah, but look how amazing she is now. She'll have something, but she won't be caught unaware. So the reason I guess I wanted to share that is moving forward, you know, the importance, I guess, of speaking your truth and being vulnerable and allowing yourself to be authentic. I get to do that now because I've got the people behind me that love me. And although they might not love when I'm out here sharing, I know that the message is too important, right? So whatever shame story you are carrying, whatever you think makes you unlovable, unworthy, undeserving, I'm telling you now, that is your fear wrapped in a black wolf with the devil inside of it and your ego, and it is trying to shut down your light. Please, whatever you do, don't fucking let it. You are too important. You have a light that you need to shine out into the world. You get to be as bright and shiny as you were brought into this planet to be. And so I just kind of want to leave you with a thought around this now. Don't let anybody dim your light. Don't let that internal voice that tells you, you're not enough, that you don't get to shine bright, that someone else is more important than you, that someone else is better than you, that someone else is more talented than you, smarter, prettier, faster, skinnier, whatever story it is you've got. Don't let that be the thing that stops you from getting out there and making an impact, because it doesn't matter who you are. You have the ability to impact someone today. Right? And I really believe that it is everybody's job on this planet. If everybody on this planet made it their mission to just positively impact one person every single day, could you imagine the world we would live in? Could you imagine what it would be like? So if you take anything from today, I would love for you to just make a decision that you are going to positively impact someone's life today. And it doesn't have to be huge. You might smile at someone and tell them that their jacket looks nice, or that you like their hair, or that, it doesn't matter. You might take someone's trolley back to the trolley counter. You might buy a stranger a coffee. It doesn't matter what you do, but you have the power to impact someone today, whether you are a kid, whether you are 10, whether you are 100. If you can hear me and you can see me and you can feel me, you have the ability to impact someone. So on that note, I'm just going to share with you a couple of my favorite things. A friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, and she knows who she is, but I won't embarrass her by saying it. She suggested that I should end these shows with, some pearls of wisdom, some things that will get you thinking. And so these are the things that are on my heart right now, based on what I have just shared. One of the best all-time movies ever, if you haven't seen it, it's called Pay It Forward. And you'll understand when you see it why I think it's one of the best films ever. Podcasts that I'm listening to. If you're not listening to a podcast and you haven't discovered the whole world of podcasts, then I want you to understand this. It is food for your brain, and you get to decide what you feed your brain. If you feed your brain on a diet of the news, negative energy, well-spoken, or any other type of media that's filled with negativity, then, you're basically feeding your brain the equivalent of sugar, shit, and salt. And so don't be surprised if you end up feeling negative and sick and not well. If, however, you are feeding your brain with stories that are inspirational and, new learnings, neuroscientific learnings, which I'm all about, training your brain, then that's a cool thing. So my favorite podcasts that are worth listening to: Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory. That is definitely worth a watch. You've also got the Aubrey Marcus Show, if you want things a bit more alternative. And Lewis Howes, he's totally rocking it out. As well, Mel Robbins, totally love her, okay? And one of my all-time favorite books, if you are an entrepreneur and you're wanting to get out there and you're starting to judge or doubt, a really cute little story, well worth reading, is Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. Cool. So on that note, I'm going to sign off. I think that's been completely enough about me for today. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Real and Raw Stories, where I got down and dirty and shared a bit of my real and raw story. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you some insights, and I'd really love, what did you get from this? I'd love you to comment below. I'll be jumping into the group later if there's any questions. If you've got any questions, I think you can see I'm an open book. If there's any way I can support you, please reach out. And on that note, go out, shine bright, be amazing, and have a magic day. Love you lots. Bye.
can be what you wanna be